We are live team for what we are going to call episode 80. 80. 80. I've been learning a lot of French lately. Of this podcast, the Athletic Philosopher Podcast. I am your humble host, Jordan Goldstein, former university professor in all things sport humanities, history, that was my jam, philosophy, it's like my double jam. Also taught psychology, sociology, published some articles, wrote some books, got into some fights based on principle, a couple of them. So we are no longer at the university, which is not a place for principle, not a place for truth, certainly not a place for education. That's for sure. And we are heart deep into the world of coaching. I have my own unique little blend of life and fitness coaching that is intertwined. I call it spiritual fitness, effectively, like coaching for the spirit, finding physical health, and then utilizing the lessons from training to embolden the courage, the bravery, the hope, and the desire that is usually buried deep inside of us, especially in the adult world, to allow people to then live more fulfilling lives outside of the arena. So it's like physical health and spiritual health all in one. Mwah. And it's an amazing thing. I have a very dedicated roster of one-on-one clients, small, so I can give them all my time. I also run a group coaching community, which I call the Temple. We are just about to enter into our next cohort phase, which I'm really excited about. We're all going to be learning about becoming craftsmen and artists with our physical exercise and our physical activity. I will drop some links down below if at any point during this you get that itch to think, I really like what this guy is talking about. And I would love to get a little bit of that in my life, either for fitness, for life courage, for camaraderie and community, any of those things. Just get in contact with me. I'll put my information down in the show notes page. Just finding a lot of tremendous success with the people who I'm helping with this approach. And I just want more people who could be helped to be helped. I also am the tribal professor and assistant coach on Tribal Training, the excellent online endurance training team run by Ryan Dreyer. You can see right here. I got my flag in the background, but it's right now we're in full swing Montreal Canadiens propaganda mode. Let's see. I got my little jersey. I got my amazing. I'm so bad with this mirror thing. That way, yeah. I'd just turn around and I would look and I'd figure it out. But that's not how we do things. I got my Bob Gainey, and I'm wearing the very first sweater ever worn by a Montreal Canadiens team all the way back in 1909. And we are also live on Substack. Holy moly, this is a big introduction. We're live on Substack like I've been doing all my podcasts, probably now for the past 3 months or so. I've been doing these simulcast on Substack for my Substack audience, which I'm finding really valuable. And just like bringing people into the thought process, like I don't script out these podcasts, so they're always kind of live, but knowing that there are people on the other side who can comment. And if you're listening to this, guys, please comment, drop questions, challenge me, make this as interactive as possible. It's one of the benefits of tuning in, is you can be a part of the discussion. So thanks everybody there. I'll drop all the links to my socials as well. So if you want to catch the next one live, you can follow me on Substack and sign up for my newsletter. Or you can come follow me on X, where I'm posting a lot of short thoughts, right? So I got short thoughts, I got longer thoughts on Substack, and then we have we might call this like the lecture hall or the coffee shop or something like that, the cafe where we talk about the ideas. Okay, let me fill up my cup of motivation. Not the cup of inspiration. Take a little sip. Okay. And let's go. So, episode 80, big episode. Why? It's race week. It's race week, and I am excited. Not only is race week kind of like when things start to become real, at least in my mind, about, oh my gosh, like there's actually a race, there's actually a start line. You actually have to start doing the things to logistically get you there. You have to start putting all of your training into execution mode. You have to start switching your position, both physically and mentally, but also spiritually, from preparation to execution mode. And not only is it race week, but it's race week for my very first triathlon. I am doing Chattanooga 70.3 with, I think it's like 15 or so of my tribal training teammates. So we're all going to be descending into the southeastern corner of Tennessee to swim 1.2 miles in the beautiful Tennessee River. That's a wild river, guys. I'm really looking forward to standing on, I think it's a dock or a barge or something. I'm not sure. I just know we're jumping in and then swimming downriver. So I'm really pumped about that. And then we get to bike 56 miles through the rolling hills of Georgia, which I've been told is also incredible and beautiful. And then we get to run through the historic downtown of Chattanooga, 13.1 miles. And I want to take time today to unpack, to spiral out on race week with a couple of the really, because I'm the philosopher, I ain't going to be talking too much about physical preparation or about, my race execution plan in terms of like fueling strategy and carb loading and transition. And that's not to say that those things aren't great. Like you need all that, but that's not this podcast, and that's not the type of fitness that I specialize in. Like you want that kind of information and those details. I'm also going to put the links down below, right? That's Coach Ryan's specialty. Coach Ryan is the athlete. He has qualified and competed in the world championships for Ironman. And I believe the first time he ever raced a 70.3, he qualified, right? So he's done world championships in 70.3, world championships in Ironman, and he knows. So those are the things you really are interested in about like triathlon or endurance sport, traintribal.com, join the team. You'll get the philosophy from me, but you'll get the expert training advice, and also just like the brilliant coaching of Coach Ryan. He gets everyone across the line, and he does so within the comfort of your own life. So he's not going to make you train 15 hours a week to get across the line if you're a young dad and you got young kids and a growing professional career. Like, that's absurd. So really get in contact with him. Love to see you on the team. But like, what do I want to talk about today? Because I'm not going to be talking too much about those physical elements. I actually want to talk about this idea of dreaming. That's what I want to talk about today. Why? Well, I've been reading a lot of Carl Jung lately. And for the past week or so, I've been really drawn into the dream analysis world. I'm reading like a collected works, a compendium of Jung, and we're deep into the dream interpretation world. So my thoughts are swirling around between, like the dream, the vision, the aspiration, the resistance, the breakthrough, the realization, the potential, the transcendence, the becoming. And in particular, the idea that I want to talk about today as it relates to race week, for me, in my very first triathlon, somebody who probably always knew that they were going to be doing a triathlon, but didn't know how or when or why. I'm really excited to try to bring this together. And the orienting concept that I really want to talk about is this idea of what Jung calls assimilation, right? And assimilation is effectively like you have a conscious mind and you have an unconscious mind, right? And assimilation is when they both move together. Now, I haven't got to the part of what happens when they merge, but I don't think I need Jung to explain to me that part, because effectively my coaching has always drawn upon this power of the assimilation. Like, I'm not joking. When I did this with the conscious and the unconscious mind, one of the most frequent hand signals that I use on the calls, right? And for people out there, just a little bit of my coaching. All my coaching calls I do on Zoom or I do on video chat. Why? Because I need people to see me and I want to see you, right? Body the body is the expert in communication, right? Like, you've all heard the stat, I'm assuming, like that 95% of communication is nonverbal. Well, it's so true, right? And if I am deeply involved with somebody and we're having a deep conversation, like, I want to see that person and I want that person to see me. It's like incredibly important. Okay. And I make this hand gesture probably more than any other hand gesture that I make. Like, I got a bunch that I use. I really like this infinity wheel hand gesture where I make the infinity wheel coming in and coming out. That's a great one. But this is the one that I do the most. And I'm going to just do it. It's, again, one hand on one side, the other hand on the other. And it's like bringing them together, but they're like in resistance. They're fighting, coming together, and then boom. The second they come together, we clap up, and that's where the transcendence happens, right? And oftentimes, what I mean specifically by these two hands, one on top, one on the bottom, both kind of trembling and coming together and then ascending, is me actually telling the person on the other side of the call, hey, one of the reasons I just did everything I just did was so your conscious mind and your unconscious mind can start moving towards each other. That they can start recognizing each other and they can start getting on the same page. When I mentioned off the hop, right, that my fitness coaching is aimed a lot at this like spiritual peace, this spiritual assuredness, this spiritual knowing. It's because you're living on the inside in a way that is dissonant, right? So there's an unconscious element or a subconscious element that is not at harmony, that is not in accordance with what you are doing consciously. Okay. And so this ends up in weird compensatory behaviors. Jung's classic example, and the one that I talked about a little while ago in my Turning 40 episode, is the midlife crisis. It's the midlife crisis because somebody has been living externally, right? And their conscious attitude is all towards things like status and material possessions and fitting in and doing what's expected of you. And then all of a sudden, the unconscious and the subconscious on the inside, once you start hitting that middle age and you're like, man, the sands in the hourglass, they're over 50% gone. Like, I don't have my life ahead of me. My life's behind me. Most of my life is behind me. Then the unconscious like rears its ugly head. And we get these very strange midlife crisis behaviors that take a hold of a lot of people. That's just one example, right, of a compensatory attitude. You can think about the idea of compensating any which way you want. Likely there's a gigantic figure in your mind or a scene or an episode or even a person that can express this. But ultimately, this is what I see a lot in my coaching. I see people who know that there's something on the inside that is not at rest, that is not at peace, and they're trying to figure out how to act on the outside to bring themselves into alignment. So I've been doing this hand motion for like 4 years as a coach. And I just read this morning about, the actual idea of assimilation. And of course, that's what I want to talk about today. Why? Well, because that's what's been happening to me for this entirety of the race. And I mentioned just a little while ago, that I'd always had inside of me this, I would say, this pre-knowledge of triathlon, that biking, swimming, running all together in a race was something that I was likely going to be experiencing. I just didn't know how it was going to be materialized. So we can think about this in the dreamscape as like there's an inner dream. There's an inner dream to compete and to prove myself in a particular way, but the inner dream cannot be realized because the external action is not congruent with it. Okay. And what does this look like? Well, this looked like me in my 20s when I finally figured out my own physical consistency after whatever, a dozen false starts. I really empathize with the person that never quits because that was me. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be fit. I wanted to be, a routine exerciser, something that, that exercise wasn't just something I did, but was a part of who I am and something I desperately needed to incorporate into my life, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. The only thing I could really do was try again, get into the gym and get on some machines and then stop 2 weeks later and then do a home body calisthenics routine with push-ups and sit-ups, and then I'd stop that, and then I'd go do cardio on an indoor bike, and I'd stop that. It wasn't until I found trail running that I found the thing that lit me up. And I talk about this all the time, that you got to start with love first as the foundation when it comes to fitness. And in particular, if you want fitness to reach deeply into your lives as a spiritual practice, if fun and love are not the foundation, then you're never going to get that. You're never going to access it. You're never going to access it. So really, for me, it's like doing this triathlon is bringing these constituent elements of me, right? This unconscious pre-knowing with now the conscious recognition of like why and when and how, of why and when and how. So for me, race week is like this ultimate arena of becoming. Okay. It's not just the place where I'm going to pass the start line and I'm going to do my actions in the middle, and then I'm going to cross the finish line. I'm going to get my medal, and then I'm going to peace out. No, I want peace inside. So it all kind of fits into this larger arc, this larger narrative, this larger character development, this larger story of who I am. And I did an entire episode about triathlon. This was the year of the race episode. I'll do my best to link to these two episodes that I've mentioned. I might even mention an article. Maybe I'll put the book that I'm reading in the show notes. Who knows? Who knows what'll find its way down in there. But for me, right, the triathlon represented, the peak experience of this year of opportunity, right? We're living here in the North Shore, Chicago suburbs. We moved last year in January. We're going to be moving out of here next year, likely in June. Cross your fingers, everybody, for me, that it is in June and the kids can finish a school year and then start a new school year. Let's just pray for the stability for them. My wife and I, we're in the tornado. It didn't really matter for us, but for them, pray for my kiddos. Like, they need the stability here. They deserve it. So I have this year of the opportunity, and it's like, well, what is the big opportunity? What's the big opportunity? Oh, it's to do triathlon. Oh, it's to do triathlon. And this gives me a really fun chance to now pause and reflect and look back on, what happened in between me and my 20s. And I've mentioned this story frequently. I've mentioned this story a lot. I'm literally swimming 2 to 3 days a week as a professor on campus. And I had been swimming, probably for 3 to 4 years before we moved back to Toronto. Like, when I was finding trail running, the one activity that I always would go to try to gain consistency was swimming, because I was a good swimmer. I learned how to swim. I'm technically proficient in swimming. I was a PhD student, so I'm always on campus. Campus has a gigantic pool. So it was pretty simple for me to just like pick my head out from reading books or from grading papers or teaching seminars to go over and swim for 30 minutes in the pool. And I really enjoyed swimming, right? It was something that was fun for me and that I knew was working my body out really well. And I've always biked, suburban latchkey kid growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. Like, are you sure that you didn't bike all the time if you grew up like that, like I did? All we did was bike around the neighborhood. And then as I got older and I recognized that the city that I was living in London, Ontario, it's my hometown. It's where I got all my degrees from Western University, which is in London, Ontario. They have this incredible path system that runs by the Thames River. And you can bike for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles, or kilometers and kilometers and kilometers for my Canucks out there. Uh, and so, you know, as I am running outside, as I'm swimming on campus, I recognize, gosh, I love biking too, and I can go out and bike for 2 hours on this path, and I can get a great workout there too. And then we moved to Toronto, and I started biking everywhere to do my errands because I just didn't want to be driving, and I want to be outside, and I'm trail running, and I'm swimming, and I'm a prof, and I've always sort of been doing these three things, but never triathlon, never triathlon. So I just remember, I don't exactly remember the context, but I remember the conversation. I remember this conversation with my wife. Let's say that I am 27 or 28 years old. It's something like that. I'm not quite 30. We'll say 28 or 29. And my wife just looks at me and she says, you know, you're doing all this. Oh, you know what? I think it, I know the context. My wife's college roommate did a triathlon in Toronto. Like she trained up for it. She wasn't a triathlete. She didn't have any experience in these sports and she did it. And it was a big deal for her. And then my wife turned to me and says, why don't you do a triathlon? You know, you're in better shape than she is and you do all these things. And I turned to her and I said, I don't have anyone to do it with. I don't have anyone to do it with. Right. So then if you zoom forward 12 or 11 years now, you know, I've been very consistent with my fitness. I've become a trail runner, conquering ultra marathons in some pretty wild and rugged places and going some pretty far distances, but still the triathlon, it's kind of out there for me, right? And the dream on the inside, right? There's the dream on the inside or the unconscious on the inside that's obviously directing me there and is impacting like my conscious decision making, right? Like when I'm being brought in together, the conscious and the unconscious, it's this internal knowing of challenge, it's this internal knowing of adventure, it's this internal knowing um that I will express, that I need to express myself physically, and I need to do it on these big scales, and I need to do it in natural places, and I also need to do it with a supportive community. So it was, you know, not by accident or by coincidence that I found myself as an assistant coach on an endurance training team that specialized in triathlon. And I had never done triathlon, and I was not even actively training in the three sports. You know, Coach Ryan, he first hired me as a consultant to help learn about, you know, the ancient and deep sports philosophy and wisdom, because it was something that he felt moving powerfully in his own life, and he wanted a little bit more understanding, and then building that understanding into the way he was communicating about his own transformation, but most importantly, you know, turning that into a lot of the different coaching things that we've done on the team since I've come aboard officially as a coach, but even before that as a consultant, and then basically just wiggled my way onto the team through the consulting. Because again, I wasn't training in endurance. I wasn't racing. I didn't even care about racing or running long distances other than my long run in the forest every Saturday or Sunday morning at sunrise. But, you know, there's always that unconscious part. There's always that unconscious part. And let me go to Jung here for a minute, okay? Because I did want to highlight a little bit of these notes. And the first quote from Jung that I want to bring in is this one. It's, quote, all consciousness seeks its unconscious opposite. Okay, all consciousness seeks its unconscious opposite. So this is the idea of the pair of opposites, right? Okay, so then if I'm unconsciously being drawn towards something, right, and consciously my behavior is opposite of that, then I'm not going to have harmony. I'm not going to have peace. But, you know, if the unconscious, pardon me, where do we go here? All consciousness seeks its unconscious opposite. Okay. So if I am conscious of not training in a specific way, or I'm conscious of avoiding particular competitions, then there's a compensatory unconscious reaction. So for the first like 9 to 10 years of my training, this was I don't race. I don't race. I just do it for the love, and I just do it in the forest, and I just do it when I'm running, and I don't care about anybody, and that. But what was that doing on the inside? What was that doing? The inside is compensating for that now, right? So there's this internal desire, internal knowing that's like you're probably going to do one of these big races at some point in your life. Like you want to do a big race. And then the conscious is the opposite. It's like I don't want to do races. I just want to do it by love. Anything that's big has got to be like created by me on my own, and creates a little bit of this like tension on the inside, right? It creates this tension on the inside. And God bless everybody on the team. They started to bring this tension out, right? I am being put in front of all of these incredible endurance athletes, most of whom are training for Ironmans and 70.3s. And they're asking me, when are you doing a triathlon? Why aren't you training in swim, bike, and run? And, you can suffer the slings and arrows for a little bit. But after like a year, after like 2 years of people questioning you, of people asking you, and deep inside, right? Deep inside that I kind of want to do this and I know I need to do this. You can only back off so much, right? And so the opportunity presents itself. The opportunity is 2026. And I understood this in 2025. It was the bringing of the conscious and the unconscious together, where the unconscious has always been sort of like, you're going to do this, but you're not going to do it until you're consciously on board. You're not going to be pulled, kicking and screaming against your will into the arena that is not of your choosing. But if you don't do it at the right time, you'll miss it, and then you'll be scrambling and you'll be playing catch up for the rest of your life. So I kind of had this conscious and unconscious knowing at the same time. Boom! That this was my opportunity. I'm never going to get a better opportunity than this. I'm never going to, I don't know if we're going to come back and live in the United States, but we're not going to be planning to live in the United States until my kids are university college age. Okay. So my youngest is turning 5 in September. So that puts us conservatively at something like 13 to 15 years back in Canada and then coming back. Okay. By then, not to say that I won't be physically able to do a triathlon, but I don't want my first Ironman to be when I'm 55. Not against anybody whose first Ironman was 55. I think one of my heroes, Louis. Shout out Louis, we love you. You became an Ironman at age 58. He's an absolute king. But that to me is not a great use of opportunity. That to me is not the right moment. That to me is like, that's like the midlife crisis of like, oh shoot, compensatory attitude, compensatory behavior. Missed my opportunity. Now I got to go get it, and I got to get it any way I can, which is not how I want to live, and that's not how I want physical activity to operate in my life as this sort of panic activity to like bring me back into a more appropriate place. No. It's like, it's a part of me. It's not something I need to get back. It's like something I need to be doing every day, no matter what. So I'm here. I'm in potentially the best shape of my life, maybe the best shape I'll ever be in terms of strength and cardio and agility and balance and fluidity of motion. Like I'm able to bound around like I don't even think about it, which is not something most 40-year-olds can say, that they can just bound about and not even think about it. When my kids run off into the woods and say, "Chase me, Dad," I sprint and I overtake them if I need and if I want to. And I don't even have to think twice. Even if I did a long run or I did a bike or something like that day, I can still go. I can still spring into action with this fluidity of motion. It's fantastic. Like, so I have like the physical capacity, but I have the logistical ease of being located centrally in the United States. I live 30 minutes from one of the biggest airports that'll fly me anywhere I want. I can drive to the races because I'm not going to fly to these races with my bike because I'm not buying a bike case and I'm not taking my bike onto the airplane because I'm not a triathlete and I don't plan to be a triathlete going forward in terms of competing in triathlon. I love biking, I love swimming, and I love running. I likely will do all three of them at the same time for the rest of my life if I can. But I don't want to be in triathlon competing. So this is like the year to get it all done. And it's just dawning on me as we come up to this race week and to this race day that, you know, the unconscious and the conscious have been manifesting themselves towards a dream state, right? Towards a dream state of me getting into this incredible arena and then going out and doing the thing that I've always dreamt of doing. Like, how cool is that? And one other thing on the opportunity, we're moving to perhaps one of the greatest Ironman regions in the world. I'm moving to Montreal, just west of Montreal. And in Canada, there aren't too many full Ironmans. There's actually only 3 full Ironmans. There's actually really only 2. This year, they've added the third one. They run a full Ironman. They used to switch each year between Penticton out in British Columbia, so way west coast on the Pacific Ocean, and Mont Tremblant, about an hour north of Montreal. The third full Ironman location is now in Ottawa, Ontario. Ottawa and Montreal are like an hour and 10 minutes apart. And I'm going to be living on the west side of Montreal. So Ottawa is going to be like right there. So think about, I'm kind of living like not in between, like not in the middle, but I'm living in between Montreal and Ottawa. So right in between the 2 places in Canada that are hosting the full Ironmans, and 70.3s are they're kind of around that area. So I could logistically do the triathlon, but there's one component missing, which is the people. I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with people, and I want to do it with people who are doing it for the same reason that I'm doing it with. I want to do it as part of a team, right? So most of Team Tribal is located in the United States. Getting everybody to come up to Canada, I mean, that's in the cards in the future, obviously, but it's not something I'm going to engineer and I'm only going to do it when, right? No, the opportunity is here right now, and the conscious mind understood that, and the conscious mind understood that that's what the unconscious had been pushing me to all along. And this is cool now. This is really cool. We're going to go through a couple of these young quotes, and this is really going to highlight this idea of, sports as this place of becoming, right? The conscious and the unconscious coming together through the realization of the dream state, So there's many different interpretations, and I've likely said this idea 1,000 times already on the podcast in different language, but this is the first time I'm going to express it in Jungian dream language. We've done spiritual language, we've done OT, Old Testament language. I see my guy Ron is on here, taking in the Substack. We've done I've hosted him in my my temple call in my group so that he can give us like a Christian language to talk about this kind of stuff. But this is a particular Jungian analysis, and it's not like a deep Jungian analysis because I'm not a psychoanalyst, but I'm interested in the ideas and they become alive for sure for me. All right. One of the cool things about this idea of the conscious and the unconscious, of the pair of opposites, Jung is talking about this in relation to extroversion and introversion, like the 2 different types of people. And he says that like it's very difficult for people to consciously like understand the unconscious part of them. So if you're like a naturally extroverted person, then your subconscious is introverted, and if you're a natural introverted person, then your subconscious, your unconscious is extroverted. And this quote, like when I read this one last week, this one floored me because again, just like with the hand thing, this is what I've been saying, and I've been practicing, and I've been applying in the coaching, and I've been seeing people make magic in their lives by doing this. It's exactly what I've been doing. So here, where'd it go? It's up here. Not great with my notes, guys. Here we go. Sorry, this isn't a quote. This is just my note. He says, in order to live in between these 2 states, it requires a high degree of art to live in rhythm between the object and the subject, right? Because the The extrovert is the object-oriented individual, and the introvert is the subject-oriented individual, right? The object is the thing that's out there. The subject is the thing that's in here, right? So in order for you to actively mediate between the two, between the out there and the in here, it requires a rhythm of art. It requires a rhythm of art. Like, come on, guys. If you've been listening to this for a long time, this is like fireworks going off in your brain. This is insane, because what are the things that I talk about? I talk about being an artist. I opened up this call saying my next group cohort, my next intensive teaching is going to be on becoming an artist. Is becoming an artist. And the artist is the one that flows in between the object and the subject, right? That's what allows the musician to write the song or the architect to build the building. It's the combination of the two together. And so what ends up happening, right? If you do end up figuring out how to ride this wave, and I've mentioned this a million times as well, I think about sport as the curvy line in between the white and the black on the yin and the yang. It's the mediator between the objective and the subjective, or the mediator between the conscious and the unconscious, depending on how you want to look at that yin and yang symbol. It's kind of all the same either way. But one of the things that becomes apparent when you find this rhythm is that it's like you against you. It's always you against you. Like the external things that you are being blocked up from achieving are directly resultant for the ways in which you're not able to grow on the inside, the way you're not able to transcend your limitations on the inside. That's the way the object and the subject interact with each other, and they produce meaning and they produce purpose, and then they produce these opportunities of becoming, right? And this is what Jung says. Jung says, quote, "One must be conscious in a much higher sense to be capable and willing of carrying out the antithetical movements." Okay, so this triathlon build, even though it's like inside of me, I'm being pushed towards it, like on the outside, I'm not really moving that strongly towards it. There's resistance. I'm dragging my feet. Heck, guys, I didn't even get into the pool until 4 weeks ago, and I'm jumping into the Tennessee River in 6 days. Okay? I didn't do a bike ride over 2 hours in this entire build. I didn't run I didn't even run a half marathon, which was my standard long run last year. Okay? Why? It's not that I don't know these things. It's that there's a little bit of a blockage. Like there's this me who's the trail runner, who's the wild man, right? And that's opposed to the buttoned up, the straight-laced Iron Man, right? It's a very different kind of a crowd. It's a different kind of a disposition. And, I am trying to grow. I'm trying to become a more complete version of myself. So I posted this meme a bunch as well. But, it's the John Daly Tiger Woods meme. Tiger Woods, you have the back of Tiger Woods, and he's wearing like his black vest with the white shirt, and he's all buttoned, like Tiger Woods all buttoned up, just like a regular golfer, dignified and all those things. And John Daly is literally smoking a cigarette in the brightest Hawaiian shirt you've ever seen and like bright pink pants. And it's just like this idea of like, we both won majors, guy. You did it your way, and I did it the way no one said I could, and I still did it. And for me, that's like I'm the ultra marathoner. I'm John Daly, and I'm walking into the world of Tiger Woods, who's the Ironman athlete. So there's this identity resistance, which is a dispositional difference, right? I'm more interested in the meaning. I'm not so interested in the logistics, and Ironman is like a logistical heaven for like a logical, rational, right-brained person who loves planning, who loves meticulously getting things in order, who likes taking control and taking care of all the things. I'm a much more of a throw my hands up and like whatever it is kind of a guy. So there are these dispositional elements. So there's obviously this conscious resistance to the unconscious urge, right? Now, what is that? What is that? It's an internal block, right? It's a way that I need to be growing on the inside. And to me, the lesson has been so clear for months and months and months. And the less that I want to learn it, the bigger the problem gets and the more I have to confront it. And the issue is you need to become more logistical. You need to give more space and power to the logistical, logical, rational planning part of you that you have buried and destroyed. And that sounds harsh, but it's true. You don't necessarily need to be the most buttoned up by the calendar guy when you're a history and philosophy professor, right? That's one of the benefits of being a history and philosophy professor is you don't have to be that guy. However, I need to be that guy now. It's obvious. How many things do I need to be doing every single day? I'm like primarily stay-at-home dad. I'm trying to build my own coaching business online. Like I have it built, but I want to sustain it. I want to grow and I want to help, right? I also want to organize my house a little bit better. I want to do the things that I want with the kids. I want to support my wife, right? I want to do all of these things. And in order to get them all, right, in order to break through to the next level, I need to get better at like organizing and planning and doing the sort of the grunt work that I generally don't like to do. So maybe instead of, swimming for 4 weeks in front of, your first open water swim in 12 years, maybe I should have gone to the pool as quickly as possible. Maybe I should have been on the bike way more frequently, right? But I'm learning these lessons. That's my conscious compensation for the unconscious demand. The unconscious demand is get yourself organized, bro. The conscious reaction is I want to be flighty. I want to be flighty. And the triathlon is the dream state where I can bring them both together because I can still express myself. I've trained in my own way. I have a whole Substack series called Imagining My Way to a 70.3. I'm doing that right now with my race week podcast where I haven't even talked about what I'm supposed to do on the race. All I've talked about is becoming. My phone is about to expire. Let me see what we can do here in terms of potentially charging this guy up. Otherwise, we may have to end. Whoop. We didn't go down yet. So much fun doing it live. Oh my gosh, guys. I promise I'm not dropped yet. So much more fun doing it live, and you can do these types of things. And look, everybody in the stream is still with me, so they obviously appreciate the live energy. Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Oh, baby, we are charging now. Let's see if we can figure out a way to set this up so I don't go crazy sideways. We may just have to go sideways, which is totally fine. Let's just give me one more second here to see if we can't figure out a way. Nah, not gonna work. Okay, let's just go sideways. All right. Making lemonade, guys. We're making lemonade. All right. Hey. Thanks for staying with it, guys. I appreciate everybody. Okay, so there's obviously this like interesting oppositional element here, which, talks directly to what Jung is speaking about with the conscious and the unconscious, and I can see it. I've been feeling the pull internally, yet I've been watching myself drag. in the world of action. So the triathlon, like the race, is the ultimate arena of becoming because it's whether it occurs or not, it's setting me up for that element of transcendence. It's setting me up. And each one of these races to me as hallmarks of my becoming journey, becoming more of myself, more as I should, a better version of myself. You have the hope that these things can come together. But It's possible there's still more inner work to do. It's possible there's more external preparation that has to happen. So rather than like thinking and putting all this pressure onto the race to do it, the race doesn't actually transform you. It's everything that comes before it. So it's not about highlighting the moment in the race or thinking about the finish line is like now it's all going to come together. It's a recognition of the process. It's the recognition of the conscious and the unconscious being like brought together into the proper assimilation through the dream state of the race. And the race is a dream state because it's like not real, but it's not real at the same time, just like a dream, right? A dream is set off from ordinary life. A dream is the purview of the unconscious, right? That's when it takes over. Like a competition, it's not real. Like there's a start line, there's a finish line, there's rules that demarcate it as this arena of sacred time and sacred space, which are very important concepts that animate my entire philosophy of sport, that they are not normal. They're not supposed to be normal. They are these in-between states. So I get this arena, I get this in-between dream state to realize the coming together of the conscious and the unconscious together. How cool. How very cool is that? And if I just think about it that way, then maybe they do assimilate. Maybe I did get my transcendence. Maybe I already had the transcendence and I just needed to reverberate on out. Maybe the transcendence comes 3 months after the race, right? In terms of that moment where they do come together and they click and then boom, they ascend together, entwined. Maybe. I'm not engineering it. I am just cognizant. I recognize my eye is on it. My other eye is on it. And you know what, even? My other eye is on it too. And that's good enough for me when it comes to like this dream state and gives me such tremendous calm and peace, right? That I'm not worrying about all the things that most people worry about, even if it's not their first triathlon or their very first race in this particular in any discipline, right? You may ask, why aren't you telling me? Why aren't you talking to me about these things? Why aren't you telling me your fueling strategy? Why aren't you telling me how many bottles are going to be on your bike? I still don't actually even know. I think it's 2. I have 1 right now. Newsflash, I ain't drank nothing from no water bottle on any one of my rides. Oh. How much did you fuel during your training block for your first 70.3, Prof? 0. I did 0 fueling on every single one of my efforts. Oops. We'll wait for the race day to figure out if that was a good idea or a bad idea. Probably not the best idea, but it's okay. I'm the one who's going to have to learn the lesson, so it doesn't really matter too much to me. But there's this like incredible recognition, right? That the dream of the triathlon is coming to a head at the exact right moment in my life. Like the external and the internal are clearly directing me to this pier or wherever the heck we're going to be jumping off on Sunday morning into the Tennessee River. And what I want to really impress upon the listeners, to each and every one of you who I love and appreciate, I really want you to recognize like the value of the dream. You know, when Jung is talking about dream analysis, he's talking about the dreams that emanate into your mind while you're asleep, while you're unconscious. Quote, dreams are the direct expressions of unconscious psychic activity, okay? But I think that the dream you have inside yourself, the thing you tell yourself that you want to achieve, the thing that when you think about the best version of you, the dream version of yourself, you're doing this. Jira, 70.3 fasted. Maybe the second one, bro. Maybe the second one. I'm not going to do the first one fasted. But if you want, I'll make a deal with you. You come up and you do a Canadian 70.3 with me when I move, and I'll do it fasted. We'll go do Muskoka. We'll do Muskoka in Ontario and Huntsville, one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. And I'll subject myself to no food or water. And I'll try to sustain myself off of love of the Canadian Shield alone. No, we're not going to do this one. We're not going to do this one fasted. I've had some funny ideas about fasted competitions, but not this one. I ain't that naive. I don't have that much of a chip on my shoulder. But I appreciate the challenge. Yeah, fasted Ironman. Oh my gosh! Like, let me do a 50 miler fasted first, and then we'll talk about the full Ironman. I'll tell you what, though. I did learn that I don't need to fuel on the bike like I thought I would. I came into this whole 70.3 prep thinking, dude, you're going to be biking for any bike ride over an hour. You got to be fueling. So I started my bike rides at like 35, 45 minutes because I just want to do it. The Stanley Cup will support me. That thing is 35 pounds of silver, bro. Like, it's not an easy thing to, it's actually, sorry, it's not 30. Yeah, it's like 35 or 40 pounds. It's not an easy thing to lift and hoist up over your head and to drink out of, like, but if it was on, if it was like do the Ironman fasted and you get to hoist the Stanley Cup and then drink for it, I would do it because I'd never get to hoist the Stanley Cup any other way. So total inside baseball thing, like the Stanley Cup, that's the most romantic sports trophy in the world. That's the trophy that the NHL is privileged to hand out. They don't even own the darn trophy. I talked about this last episode. But, it's customary. You see people drinking. People have like breakfast cereal out of the cup because it's a punch bowl. It's a punch bowl from the 19th century that's put atop of the trophy. But if you didn't win it, you don't get to lift it over your head. That is like etiquette number one. You do not get to lift the cup over your head unless you've won it. So if someone made me a deal like that, Andrew, I might be involved. I might be involved in that. Fueling on the bike. So I thought like 45 minutes or 50 minutes or so would be enough. Like, okay, I like that I can do, but afterwards, no. I'm not going to say I've had the best bikes of all time, but like I've not had to stop. I've not had to like feel this debilitating drain. I have figured out something about fueling on the bike though, and this was a big unlock from last week because I've been having really good rides on Mondays and really poor rides on Thursdays, which has generally been my bike split, is Monday, Thursday bike split. And I've just been thinking like, oh, is it really the am my legs just tired? Like, do I not have motivation to go quick? And no, it's that I fast during the week. Like, I fast a lot during the week. I'm talking like 20 to 21 hours every single day of the week. I fast, but on the weekend, it's more my feast, and I'm only fasting for like 12 to 14 hours on the weekend, and I'm eating a lot more. So I've got all this like glycogen stored up from the weekend on Monday where I go out and I'm like, oh shoot, I got power. Like, let's go. And then Thursday where I've been kind of in a deficit. It's like, oh shoot, like I don't have leg power. It doesn't mean I can't bike. I just obviously can't push as hard. But I will be carb loading and I'll have all the glycogen that I need to push out a solid bike on Sunday. But it's indicative of my whole way of approaching these things. It's like iteration and refinement and exploration. Like explore, iterate, refine. Explore, iterate, refine. Adventure, explore, iterate, refine. Like, because this is not something that is object oriented for me. It's subject oriented because I'm an introverted guy. And now the object on the outside is the triathlon, right? So the inside and the outside, again, are coming together through the dream, which is exactly what Jung is telling us. Hey, know about your unconscious, figure it out through the dream, and then bring them together. Bring your conscious mind and your unconscious mind towards each other. Don't just analyze the dream. Don't just think about it. Don't just rationalize it. Like, you have to bring the two together. And this is why sport is so powerful. This is the takeaway. Sport is the perfect place because I can shut the darn mind off and I can just be in the body. I can just be in the body. I can't necessarily tap into my unconscious, but I can hear it. I can hear it on a long run when I'm deep in the pain and I have to keep going. That's when I can hear something. That's when I can get tapped into that inner signal, which to me is some like reaching up of the unconscious, just like the dream is being projected in my mind when I'm unconscious and sleeping. If I can get myself into some unthinking physical state, like a long run, like my boy Ron here is talking about here. I know you're saying yes. He says, I'm never going to be anywhere near elite, but I also haven't fueled like you're supposed to and gone further than I was supposed to. I also didn't have the money. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, we're not looking to execute these things perfectly physically. We want this combination of inner and outer being tested in a crucible of transcendence, right? So the dreamscape of the athletic competition, right, where I can shut the mind off, I can get outside the mind, I can get into the body. And then when I'm in the body and out of the mind, I can hear the spirit. I can hear this unconscious or subconscious part of me that just, I cannot hear it. I cannot see it. I can't, like, the dreams are the visions. They're the visions, right? Well, when I'm running hard, I may not be getting a vision, but I'm getting the voice, okay? So sports allow me to hear the voice of the unconscious. Maybe that's a cool realization. This is real time. I'm real time thinking about this right now. Because for Jung, right, Jung's dreams are the unconscious type, but I'm not talking about the unconscious. I'm talking about some weird mediated in consciousness, out of consciousness experience. And you might be thinking, what the heck are you talking about? But I'm telling you, and if you've gone into the pain cave in sports, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. You have these in-body, out-of-body moments where you're so deep inside of your experience that you're like almost outside of yourself, that you feel in your body all these visceral sensations that are so alive and are so blaring red, but at the same time, you're like hovering above yourself and you're seeing yourself. So you have these in and out of body experiences at the exact moment when you're deeply involved in this dreamscape of physical activity and sport. Whoa! I don't know if I've ever had a breakthrough aha epiphany moment in the actual construction of the philosophy on the podcast before, but we just did it together. And it's this idea of the voice of the subconscious. So when I'm exercising and I'm attuned to the spirit, what I'm actually doing is giving voice. Just like in sleeping, I'm getting the dreamscape, I'm getting the visuals, I'm getting the image. And then what Jung says is you've got to become expert in the rhythm and the artistry of bringing them together. And for him, that's like teaching his patients how to do their own dream analysis using his guidance. And it's really cool, right? Because Jung is saying, listen, if you just think I, as the psychologist, can interpret your dreams and heal you, I can't. I can help you connect your conscious state to your unconscious state, and then you've got to go do the work. You've got to go do the digging yourself. So, like, is that not the same thing? It's very similar. It's similar enough, I think. The dream shows you what truly is. And listen to this one. Listen to this quote, okay? Jung, quote, here we come upon something of the utmost importance for the applicability of dream analysis. The dream describes the inner situation of the dreamer, but the conscious mind denies its truth and reality or admits it only begrudgingly. Is that not me dragging my butt into the pool? Is that not me not fueling properly on the bike in training? Is that me like not even knowing what I'm supposed to do with my hair? I have the biggest ponytail anxiety. Like It would take me 2 minutes to just YouTube. Hey, great strategies, long hair and Iron Man. I still haven't done it, and I'd just rather be like, what do I do with my hair? What do I do with my hair? Right? Like, there's this truth on the inside. Get better at logistics, yet the conscious mind is denying the truth and the reality that it's heard through the voice of the subconscious that is like right in my head with a megaphone every time I'm exercising. This is wild. This is my experience. I know what you're saying. What if the unconscious mind is the spirit? Well, yeah, absolutely, Ron. And I think, like, in a Jungian sense, maybe he gets there or not. I mean, he should. It's so obvious to me that this is what he's talking about. And this is why we have so many different languages for this stuff. Like, the psychologist has a different language than a theologian. A theologian will have a different language than a philosopher. A philosopher will have a different language than an engineer. Whatever, right? Like just because the words are different doesn't mean the essence is the same. Like, language is a tool. Language is not the thing. Language is the tool. Language is not the thing. Okay? And so sport becomes this place where, like, I can notice the resistance, I can notice the urge, and I can see myself kind of bridging the gap and bringing them together, right? Bringing them together. So that's the assimilation. And this is why it's so important for you to dream. This is why it's so important for you to give voice to the dream, and why athletic dreams in particular may be the most appropriate for a lot of people to bring themselves together, right? To do this, because it functions as such. Just like Jung is laying out for us in terms of the unconscious dream. Well, if sports are a dreamscape of sorts, why can the same principles not be at play inside of the arena? And through my coaching experience and through my own experience applying this stuff in my own life, it's 100% true. This is 100% true, and I don't care about sources or citations or anything. I see it in people's lives. I'm a phenomenologist, okay? Like, I just care about how we experience things philosophically. So I don't care how it works. I just need to know how it makes you feel. And if you feel better, and if your life improves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, then it works. Okay? Placebos work. Who cares if it's a sugar pill or not? Did it work? Cool. Then it was great. So what I want to leave everybody with now, because I got to go bike and I got to do all these things, and, I have to improve my logistical game, and I wanted this podcast done at 1 o'clock so I could get on the bike, and I'm 5 minutes behind already, right? So, but I want to be a flighty prof. Inside of me, I don't, but outside I do. So the takeaway for everybody is rather clear about my race week reflection pod, which, did I even talk about the race? It's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. And I have time projections, and I have all those technical things. Maybe I'll do another pod. Maybe I'll write an article about it. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. Not right now. The big takeaway is to respect the dream. You need to respect the dream that's inside of you, the one that won't go away. The one that's like, you need to do this. You need to do this. The one that's scary. The one that's related to your potential. The one that forces you into way more responsibility than you have on yourself right now. You need to listen to that, and you need to take it darn seriously. And you need to bring it into life. Because that dream, that's the voice of your subconscious. That's the voice inside of you. And we can call that the spirit. We can call that the soul. We can call that the divine spark. We can call it the unconscious or the subconscious. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing, like as Ron pointed out. Why can't the unconscious be the spirit? My 8-year-old daughter thinks that her conscience is the voice of God. She's not wrong, okay? She's not wrong. And if that dream is inside of you, and it's something physical. I need to do this. I need to train for that. I need to compete here. I need to conquer that. That is your signal to bring these disparate parts, which are you, the conscious and the unconscious, together through the action. You need a dream analysis that gets you yoked. The dream analysis is in the gym. It's not on the couch. It's not in the journal. It's under the bar. It's on the track. It's in the mountains. It's on the ice. And if you understand consciously now what you're doing, and you're not in control of it, but you are allowing the flow of your action to express the voice of the unconscious, that is how you bring these disparate parts together. That's how you find the peace. That's how you find the potential, and then that's how you become. So it's very important that you dream. It's very important that you listen to the dream. And it's very important that you put your mind on figuring out, how do I make this thing happen? Because I wouldn't be seeing this, I wouldn't be hearing this all the time from the inside if I wasn't supposed to be doing it. If I wasn't supposed to be doing it. No more ignoring. No more ignoring the dream. You have to give life to the dream. Otherwise, there's no peace. And all you're doing is pushing it apart, and it's going to be worse. It's going to be way worse, both outside and inside of yourself, if you do not. Your life depends on it. So go for it. I'm going to read Ron's last comment, and then we're going to shut this one down. Thank you so much, everybody, for the live participation today. This is awesome, and I love the energy. Thanks so much for everybody listening. Let's see what Ron had to say here. Being dedicated to fitness forced me to face the things I was ignoring. That sounds like the same thing that I'm talking about. While doing fitness, I was exposed to the unconscious and the incongruity between that and my conscious mind. Yeah, and Ron has this very cool story that he's published a lot about on his own Substack. Maybe I'll see if I can link this one. It's about the one where you coached yourself to stop smoking when you were running. You're an absolute hero, Ron, for doing that. You're a champion. But Ron knows what I'm speaking about. Ron and I actually, as I mentioned, I invited Ron to speak to my group, to my temple community, because him and I share a very deep belief about what's going on in the world of sports and in the world of becoming through sports. And so this was a very cool exposition in kind of a Jungian sense, but it's very important because it highlights the things I'm always talking about. So it's not new, it's just a different flavor of the same thing. So if you didn't like the vanilla flavor, this is maybe the chocolate flavor of the same thing. Like, everybody likes ice cream, but not everybody likes every flavor of ice cream. Okay, so maybe you just haven't had the right flavor, but you like the ice cream. So here's the ice cream. All right, peace and love. We'll see you guys in the next one. Check the show notes for everything. If you want some of this action in your life, I'd love to show you how, because I don't prepare for a race the way most people do. And the people who I coach, they don't compete in the way that most other people do. We're all after this stuff. And I see it happen day in and day out, race in and race out, with the people who I'm able to inspire and infuse this philosophy directly into their own lives. Because you get addicted to becoming a better version of yourself. Once you understand how to do it and the proper role that sports can play in doing it for you, you don't ever want to give it up. And you deserve that. So let's get it. All right. Peace and love. We'll see you guys in the next one. Maybe it's going to be a post-race reflection, and maybe I'll actually talk about swimming and biking and running. No promises. Peace and love. Thanks, everybody.